So, welcome. We're so glad that you're here for this next series that we have. It's going to be Michelle and myself. We are involved with one church. We've been at this ministerial for many years, directly, indirectly over the years. Now we're highly involved by actually working within the ministerial and trying to really push this aspect of unity. And so we thought, what better way to start this off than to actually talk about where we came from, like why did we end up here? Because Michelle and I didn't grow up together. We don't know each other, too well until we started to connect at this multi-church type stuff. And so through those kinds of connections, right, we were able to see the united purpose. Mm-hmm. So obviously there's a history to Michelle's life as to why she's here. There's a history to myself. There's a history to literally everybody that has participated within the ministerial. And there's many ministerials all across Canada. Ours is called One Church, but there's other ministerials all across Canada. And there's all sorts of reasons why people are motivated to actively do that. And so I figure, Michelle and I, we're going to bounce back and forth and kind of talk about different stories, but I'm going to pass it off to her and just kind of hear sort of like that starting point for her. And then she can just bounce it back to me. But we figured that would be a good way for you guys to just hear how we've grown into this. So go ahead, Michelle.
How have I grown into this?
Yeah.
Well, sometimes opportunities just present themselves and you think, well, that's fantastic. What a great opportunity. And I think sometimes it's the place that you have put yourself in your life. So for me, I grew up starting as a teenager in an Anglican church, and it was such a beautiful, rich foundation. And then I found myself branching out into other church expressions and seeing how they also had rich expressions in a completely different way. And I would celebrate those new ones while missing the old ones. And so I think that's a really wonderful way to look at how everybody brings something beautiful to the table. So in my life, one of my favorite experiences was living in Milliken Mills, which is part of Markham. And there was this tremendous intensity of very new people to the country. So everybody had their language, their clothing, their culture, their family structure was so much intact. And people in that community, some stuck amongst themselves, and others would say, I am the only Afghanistan I know here. I am the only one from Croatia. So they would end up connecting with other people and finding commonalities and being excited about other people's differences. And as a woman, we would end up talking about food and having to explain to people what pickling is and what roasting is. And they would talk about their own food and what they were doing. And it was a delight. It was a delight of discovering other people's differences. And so what I came away from those things were riches, not division, but riches, because everybody's bringing something to the different to the table.
That's really interesting. It makes me think about back when it started for me as well, because, for myself, I actually saw the same types of things. I think it's when you see the value of how it's operated together. And I remember back when I was a kid, because I've grown up within the church. My father, he's a pastor. So I kind of grew up seeing a lot of things that way. And when he went to Bible school and came out of Bible school, even the church that we were associated with, they saw the value of having all different types of ministries that you were connected with, ministries that were overseas, ministries that would travel and have, different people that were evangelistic and seeing people getting saved, to people that focused on prayer. And it was like, it brought so much strength to the church. And people really saw that it was actually a valued item, because not everybody can, like an individual church can actually do everything. Like, it takes a lot of work and it takes a lot of trusting and growing with one another. So I saw that in a healthy way right from when I was young. And then for myself, the cool thing was that, I always had a desire for things that were evangelistic, and seeing, people that were oppressed and people that were, just suffering from, all the sin, all the challenges of life, and just so lost that those people coming back to knowing who God was and getting their life in order, that was something that I really valued. And so really seeing that in a healthy way, in a large way, where churches and different ministries work together, was a huge component of me seeing the importance of it. So I feel like just that foundation block really gave me that perception as, I progressed through my life, right? Yeah. So that's kind of where I'd say the early stages happened for myself. What are some other like pretty cool gems that you would say, maybe like those hallmark kind of moments that really stood out to you for what really drove that motivation for you to kind of step into all this?
Yeah, to step into the idea of enjoying unity.
Exactly. That's the easiest way to explain it. Enjoying unity.
Enjoying
Absolutely.
unity, yeah. Because you know what? Sometimes it's not all that easy.
Yeah.
It's like getting married. You have to kind of. I called it when I got married. I called it a collision of two people's possessions. You have two of everything you don't need and not one of what you do need, and also moving from I to we.
Yeah.
And that was marriage. And I was like, wow, everything I say now, but as far as a dream or a goal or a desire, always had the we as a part of it, as instead of the I. And I remember really enjoying that. I enjoyed that aspect of marriage as soon as I got married. I thought, this is a lot of fun. I always have a partner. I always have someone's different perspective. But obviously, like anybody who's been married, you're like, that's not the way you do things. You're going to be getting to those points where, there's healthy connections. So as far as my background goes of where I found that connection with diversity is, when I came into Christian ministry, I was young. I went into Christian college at 19 with an organization called Church Army, now called Threshold Ministries, and they had a very strong evangelistic push. And from that, I fell in love with parachurch organizations. I started with Toronto City Mission, Yonge Street Mission, working with street youth, and then being a part of the Barrie Food Bank right here in Barrie for a very long time, and seeing how churches, different denominational churches, different kinds of churches, different sizes of churches, and Christians themselves would all come together around a common cause. And the common cause was the point of unity. And you can realize and go, hey, I come from a really strict Lutheran background. We come from really traditional. We're like street level, non-denominational. We're revivalists, and we're really into all of it. And that's fantastic when everybody can do this and then come together and bring their own thing with them, but also bring their heart and realize we're really not all that different. Mm-hmm. We're all. And also, and I think this really connects with you, is that when you are working in situations where people are they might be like outright homeless or street involved or struggling with a lot of family breakup, just being momentarily jobless. There's a whole pile of different perspectives, people coming from really, really hard backgrounds and thriving, and you think, I can't believe you're such a miracle. And having so many different people from so many different backgrounds, and having connection, exposure to that on a continuous basis gives you a really different perspective on life than if you had always stayed in one kind of realm or one kind of culture or one kind of church expression. Mm-hmm. And if I've ever been kind of saddened by something, it would be people who are only comfortable being with what they know. And that's when you end up with a lack of riches. Mm-hmm. It was what I was alluding to, living in a multicultural community.
Yeah.
That there was riches to be found. Not everybody that lived in Milliken Mills did what I did, because it took a lot of time and effort to get over language barriers, get over cultural barriers.
Right.
Not everybody experienced what I did and what my children did.
And so for myself, just to kind of wrap up on just a couple hallmarks for myself, and then we'll see you guys in the next episode. But I would say that the hallmark for me has been, when I started like working within my community as a church leader. I've done that for a couple decades now, and just when I've participated, like for example, when I went to university, we started a Christian group on campus, and we had a variety of Christians out of necessity. We had to do it to keep our faith strong, and we actually were able to even see people come to the Lord as a result of having that group on campus, because we created that healthy culture. But it was, we did a thing called Campus Alpha, and so there was a unifier where we made the primary things the primary things, and we never really made issues of, things that we all had not, fully agreed on or understand based on, where we are in life. Like there's a lot of reasons why people have grown up and they bumped into one church or a different church or whatever, and it's like it's learning and growing in that relationship with the Lord, and really growing our faith. And so the cool thing was that we all were able to grow our faith and encourage one another, but yet we still all went to different churches, which was really cool. And then even from that, when I was working in with the homeless, and kind of like a similar thing where I'm working with, within all sorts of different types of social service sectors, I bumped into a lot of Christians, and we're like, hey, let's pray for the people that come in. Like, let's pray for the situations that come up. Like, we would do that separately and have that space to pray, just like a lot of people do when they are at their work sites and they're praying for the people that they're working with. And a lot of those people you bump into that are your coworkers and different things, it's like you don't get to cherry pick all of those people. Those are the people that you have. Jesus, is that you? So anyways, we want to just allude to, I just wanted to allude to that those are some key hallmark moments for myself. And so when we talk in the next series, we're going to delve in deeper into all of this stuff. So we hope to see you in the next episode.